The F1 2022 season has seen the grid jumbled up from last year's usual running. Mercedes team principal Toto Wolff believes it's time for reform in F1 in regards to the inter-team allegiances up and down the grid. F1 outfits have collaborated for several years now, with those competing further down the grid taking supplies from parent teams. Ferrari provide transferable components to both Haas and Alfa Romeo, with the latter two teams previously struggling to build competitive cars. But things have changed this season so far, with both teams jumping up the grid to regularly compete for a spot in Q3. Haas and Alfa Romeo still use their own resources on their respective cars, but often have some similarities to the Ferrari. Mercedes have also had the same relationship with both Williams and Racing Point, although Aston Martin are now heading in their own direction, with Red Bull also sharing parts with AlphaTauri. The biggest surprise of the year though has come in the form of Haas' drastic jump from running at the back of the grid to fighting with Mercedes. Kevin Magnussen has finished 5th and 9th respectively and was ahead of Lewis Hamilton last time out in Saudi Arabia. Wolff is happy to see a more competitive grid in the sport, but wants some changes to be made to the interrelationship between teams. I think it needs to reform because we want to avoid the kind of discussions that we have had from the last few weeks, Wolff said. Everybody deserves to perform well and people should get credit when they've done a good job. But some of the job hopping or entity hopping on the same premises is just creating arguments that are not necessary for the sport. We have Aston Martin in the wind tunnel that 2 years ago, we had quite a storm about. We have been handling that with the utmost diligence, but going forward, if we were to need to compromise our income ability, we need to do this because none of the teams should be able to cooperate in a way that we're seeing it today with some. Haas were using a simulator from Ferrari in the offseason to prepare for the new 2022 cars before preseason testing, and they also use a number of manufactured listed parts from Ferrari while utilizing outside sources for non-listed parts. But Gunther Steiner recently hit back at any concerns over their close relationship with Ferrari. Aero is always dominant on an F1 car, and we do our aero 100% ourselves, he said. Obviously, suspension we buy, and therefore we have very little, if no input in that one, so that's a given.
If